Hey, it's Dr. Brenda, sociologist, financial coach, founder of Gutsy Women Finances Community, full-time RVer, traveling the country with my 3 cats. Hey, please subscribe below. If you already subscribed, thank you so much. And don't forget to hit that bell to be notified of new videos. Hi, Donkey. Hi, Donkey, my friend Donkey. It's like, what am I doing here today? I'm gonna have some fun with you today. So I'm at Chippokes Plantation State Park. There's a pig down here. Pot-bellied pig. Donkey. So this is in Virginia, Surrey, Virginia, Chippokes Plantation State Park. It's my last day of a 14-day stay here. It's been really quite lovely. I'm coming at you on a Monday afternoon, so not a lot happening here. And I'm gonna just walk and talk today. Take you along with me. Hello there, cow. Okay, so let's go over to the museum. I've walked around there a bit, and let's go ahead and take you on a tour of some of the buildings. Chippokes Plantation State Park. This plantation is one of the oldest running farms in the country, and history is one of Virginia history, American history. And much of this was the plantation depended on enslaved persons from Africa for that was its base of the economy. So let's take a look. The historical museum. The other reason I'm doing this is I grew up on a farm. I don't talk about it very much. Grew up on a dairy farm, the family farm in central Wisconsin. A farm that was founded in 1856. It continues to operate. Hi, pal. Hi. Hello. Hello, farm cat. I saw you the other day. Farm remains in the family. My younger brother and his wife farm it. Very good shape. They take excellent care of it. But growing up on the farm, you know what? There aren't that many of us who have that experience. So some of the things that I take for granted, I know that others just look at me like, what are you talking about? So I'm just going to ramble. I'm going to show you some of the stuff, and as I talk about it, I may share some stories with you. I am child number 3 of 5. I have an older brother, older sister, younger brother, younger sister. So this is all organized by the where you are in the business process. This is harvesting. This looks like an old side rake pulled by the horse, later pulled by a tractor. But here is, here's a seat. So you'd sit back here, horse up front, tractor up front. We actually had an old side rake with this seat here, and I got to sit in that seat when I was a kid. Dad would drive the tractor and rake. That means the hay has been cut and you're putting it into, this is actually the hay cutter, you're putting it into rows. So the old side rake, that's something that I remember doing as a kid. Some of this old machinery, look at all the moving parts. So I remember the most frustrating piece of equipment for my dad was the combine. That's how you harvested the oats. Thing was always broken down. And I'm pretty sure that later on he or possibly my brother just got rid of it and hired somebody to combine, because it just wasn't worth the hassle of keeping this equipment around. So one of the things that I watched and I learned from my parents, my grandparents, my family, somebody's got to take care of all this stuff. This is a dairy farm. You got to take care of the cows, but look at all the equipment. You don't have a mechanic degree. You don't have an engineer degree. You're not certified. You've got to figure all this stuff out on your own. You have to be resourceful. Very often you don't have a lot of money, so you can't just buy a new piece of equipment. You've got to make do with what you have. And that is one of the things. Corn sheller. Okay, that's interesting. I've never seen one of those before. And that's one of the things, the traits that I believe that I have, and I think everyone in my family has, is you just figure it out. If it's a stove or an oven, I mean, now it's so easy because you can Google something and find the answer to it. This is the old side rake. This is all John Deere. John Deere was always recognizable by the green and yellow, kind of Packer colors, Green Bay Packer colors, but lots and lots of John Deere equipment here. Now, the thing that I think most people probably, they don't envy the work, because it is a lot of hard work, and as a kid, I was an asset. I wasn't a liability. I had to contribute, which, of course, I didn't like so much at 6 a.m. getting in the barn and milking cows. That was not my choice. Old Farmalls are red. Alice Chalmers orange. It's like every tractor has its own little color scheme. But one of the really cool things about growing up on the family farm is it is intergenerational. So my grandpa and grandma, my dad's parents, lived in the house originally, and as our family grew, they bought a little trailer home and parked it right next to the house. I mean, we're talking 50 feet away, right next to the house. So it meant we didn't always have a lot of privacy, but it meant it was a treat to go over to Grandma's house and spend the night in Grandma's spare bedroom, even with the creepy clock in the closet that would tick. And she would make you the breakfast of your choice. So when when there's 5 of you kids growing up, kind of having your own day, your own breakfast, Grandma paying attention to you, that's pretty cool. And my grandfather contributed his farm animals. My grandfather contributed to the farm up until he was physically unable to do so, and he was diagnosed, I believe, with Hodgkin's lymphoma, Hodgkin's disease, and started to tell me a lot more stories as he got sicker and sicker, but he stayed. He worked because he wanted to, and it was his life. My father died in the barn with his boots on, did not have to work anymore, but he chose to be there because it was his life. That's what he did. That's how he contributed. These look like old chicken coops. We did not have chickens when I grew up, but my older sister remembers chickens. I remember we had pigs, and it got to be more expensive to raise the pigs and feed the pigs than to buy bacon and ham from a store. So out went the pigs. So it was, from then on, exclusively a dairy farm, dairy cows. First with Guernseys. Guernseys were brown and white, and they had a high milk fat content. And then back in the, 70s and 80s, fat was bad for you, so everybody wanted low fat. So my father actually switched the herd over from Guernseys to Holsteins, black and white cows, because the black and white cows produced more milk but had lower milk fat. So that's what everybody wanted back then. Now we're probably back to, fat is good. The trends in farming reflect trends in every other aspect of our lives. So I thought you might find that interesting. Peanut farming, now I know nothing about peanut farming. This is Virginia. So that's all, that looks like something from a Shakespeare festival. What on earth is that? I have no clue. Okay, so if you're out there watching, it is pulled by a horse or oxen. no clue, but it looks very barbaric. Manufacture mechanical pickers, the peanut picker. Doesn't look, I think that peanut picker is the thing with the belts on it, the chains. Don't know what that is. Wow. So, yeah, so it's growing up intergenerationally, getting to know your parents, your grandparents. Every family member contributes. It's hard work, and you had to do a good job. If you didn't do a good job, you had to do it over again. Now, the other thing that you learn how to be resourceful. You learn that almost everything is fixable. You can figure it out on your own. You learn the value of hard work, but you are at the whims of nature. So farming, you'd love to be able to control what you're doing and when you're doing it, but the fact is the weather and the seasons control what it is you do and when you do it. But I love being outdoors, and I'm sure that my comfort level comes from growing up on a family farm where we had acres and acres, and we worked out in the fields. We were outside all the time, and a good thunderstorm, good rain. Hey, you need to have the rain to grow the crops. That's the donkey. The donkey is saying hello. That's cool. Yeah, we did not have donkeys. So so I feel like my comfort level in nature is much higher than most people's. If you grew up in the city, you were probably a little bit afraid to get dirty. And of course, when you grow up with cows and muck and stalls and manure, it's just part of life, part of maintaining everything. I'll tell you what, it sounds very nostalgic. It sounds like it's such a fantastic life, and I couldn't wait to leave it. Say, what am I doing here? We're 6 miles away from the city. I could see my city friends hop on their bicycles and go into town and get a little treat for themselves and visit, hang out with friends. And I was isolated on the family farm. So only in hindsight can I see all the wonderful values I picked up from that. I went to college at the University of Wisconsin at Eau Claire. So that was sort of my first taste of living in a city. Then I went to graduate school at Syracuse University. From there, I moved to Berkeley and then Oakland, California. I landed a job with the university and worked and lived in Oakland for several years. And then, I hit a down stretch where couldn't find decent work. I lived in Flagstaff, Arizona, Green Bay, Wisconsin, and then floated down to Atlanta, Georgia, where I finally got a break. Then up to the D.C. metro area, and then to Williamsburg, Virginia, and now RVing. But I've lived in big cities, Oakland, Atlanta, Bay Area, all that stuff. And it's a good place to be maybe in my 20s and 30s, but I love the wide open spaces. And so part of the entire RV experience for me almost feels like I'm returning to my roots. Now, I don't want to live on a farm, and I don't want to have to milk cows at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. But I do love being outside. I love roaming around and seeking adventures, hitting the trails, watching the sun rise and set, seeing this magnificent, amazing country, because it is amazing. I know there's a bunny in here because I saw the bunny. There's the bunny. Bunny sleeping now? You can see the bunny in the corner hanging out by the fan. It's a beautiful day here in Virginia. It's kind of extremes last week from 90 degrees to 60 degrees. And here's an old farmhouse. I think they've Date this to the 1940s. Have to say I don't remember a lot of this, but we did have a giant clothesline. Some of you folks, especially if you're in a homeowners association neighborhood, no clotheslines. Well, you know, you hanged your clothes out there, let the nice fresh breeze dry them, and you're all set to go. So that's a clothesline. It's odd to be explaining this, but some of you probably have never seen one. The old stovetop sewing machine. Singer, you probably heard that. Make your own clothes. I would not do very well in that department. In fact, I hated home economics. I didn't mind the cooking, but I had to make like a vest, and I had to make something. I made a vest. It was horrible. I used to actually get physically sick before the class because they were grooming me to be a housewife. And there was nothing worse in my mind than to be a housewife. I wanted college and career and excitement, and I honestly would get physically sick before going to that class. I mean, a couple of times my mother had to come pick me up, and I didn't realize later that that illness was a link to everything that home economics represented to me. So, you know, it didn't have to be as awful as it was. The women took home economics, the men took shop. That was kind of the rule. There was sort of a home ec for guys at this time, and we're talking I graduated in 1982, so we're talking late 70s, early 80s. The class for men, get this, it was called singles living. Okay, I doubt they had to sew, but they probably had to figure out how to go grocery shopping and prepare a meal. Only if they were single, because otherwise, you know, us housewives were going to take care of it. Singles living for guys, home ec for the girls. And I don't think there were too many guys in singles living because, you know, who's going to be single, right? Anyway, see, I told you I was just going to ramble. So this is Chippokes Plantation Farm and Forestry Museum. Campground has been a wonderful stay. This is the old Alice Chalmers. Actually, the one back on the farm still works and is in much better shape than this one. There's a mansion in this park. I mean, I've got a separate review of the campground and of the park, if that interests you. They're closing up. I finished this just in time, didn't I? Perfect. I love the smell of cut hay, freshly cut grass, freshly cut hay. Got the big round bales over there. And a little garden. And a very talkative donkey. That's it. I'm going to close out. I hope you enjoyed that. And hey, if you grew up on a farm, what are some of your strongest memories? You probably, if you didn't grow up on a farm, you probably wish you had, but it's a lot of hard work, but it is definitely character shaping. You guys take care. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you from the next place. I hope you can hear the donkey. Okay, on behalf of the donkey and me, you guys enjoy a fantastic day. Bye-bye.